on-road youth work. This is a concept that a lot of people always ask me about. What is this thing of on-road youth work? What do you mean? Is it something that's new? Is it an add-on to an aspect or a model or an intervention that takes place in the context of detached youth work? And I guess the short and easy answer is that it is a new concept. It's a way in which we as practitioners, those that work with children and young people and support their families, thinking about not only detached youth work, but how do we engage with particularly children and young people in environments that are oftentimes deemed as strange, deemed as scary. And I use the term on-road because that actually links to a long history of research that talks about the realities and the perspective of young people that live on this concept of road. And when I'm talking about road, I'm talking about young people that are attached to the streets, and the road is the place where they hang out, the places where they do their business. Road is a place where they develop those kind of relationships with individuals in a particular demographical space. And part of that has now become what we would call popular youth culture, where being on road or hanging around on road or attached to the streets is something part and part of what many would say is teenage life, but not for all. And I guess when we talk about the concept of on-road youth work, it actually builds upon a earlier kind of concept that was designed by someone that I know, a friend and a colleague and a mentor, Dr. Martin Glynn. And in one of his earlier books, in one of his chapters, he talks about a concept called on-road criminology. And he spoke about this in his book to be this thing where social scientists like myself that also have that kind of practitioner experience behind them, and they work within the community and doing some things as what he calls credible messengers that have trust, that are non-judgmental, and individuals that are very emotionally intelligent, that are very good with their interpersonal communication skills. And they may be in a laundrette, they may be in a cafe, they may be at a funeral, and the moment that they're in those particular environments, that's not necessarily in an environment where youth and community work would essentially take place, but you may be in that particular environment and you may have an interaction with a young person about something that's going on in their lives. And it's that interaction in terms of a quality, or what is the quality of that interaction in that particular space. So one of the things that Dr. Glynn talks about in his book is something called reflexivity. And he talks about what does that quality look like in those particular environments where you talk to individuals and essentially are educating, supporting them in order to make the best choices leaving that conversation. That's what reflexivity is all about, to get individuals to think about oneself, not just based on reflection, but the quality of what those kind of interactions look like. And I guess as a student of Dr. Martin Glynn, at one point in time, I was really like, I like this concept of on-road criminology, but I don't think it fits, because a lot of the stuff he was talking about, I felt that I did. A lot of the individuals that we work with as our partner organizations in the community was doing those things, but wasn't in the way in which I seen the kind of foundations in which criminological theory set out. So I developed the term on-road youth work that actually stands on the shoulders of on-road criminology. And essentially what I was looking at in terms of this concept was intersection, overlaps. You've heard me say this in previous videos, and I love the idea about intersecting things. So essentially, on-road youth work is essentially the intersection between youth work practice, youth work theory, the models that were within youth work, considering outreach work, detached youth work, center-based work, but also working in what I call extreme environments, utilizing criminological theory and merging those together. And I think that there is absolutely nothing wrong when we look at a range of theoretical ideas to look at the way in which children and young people behave in a contemporary society, use all those different theoretical ideas to create models of intervention, models that will enable us to think about best practice, models that will enable us to think about how we can reflect as practitioners, that will enable us to work with young people in a different type of way. So I can be in Nando's, with my family, eating some chicken, and then a young person may come over to me and be like, Craig, I'm in a situation. And the situation I'm in right now is that I'm about to do something because something's happened to a loved one, a family member, and even though I'm with my family, even though I'm eating some chicken, that is a very crucial moment in time where, as a credible messenger, as an individual that works with young people, that quality of time in that small 5 or 10 minutes can actually be the decider whether that individual then goes out to be involved in something that would put themselves in a situation where they either lose their life or they lose their life to the criminal justice system. And I think these things become really important. So as researchers, it is about breaking down what does that look like from an insider perspective, from an ethnographic perspective, reflexivity, and connecting all of those different things to make it make sense to understand why we do what we do. And I think that on-road youth work as an academic and also as a practitioner gives us and me the apparatus to be able to work with different types of young people in these different types of environments in a particular type of way that doesn't actually exclude youth work, criminological theory, theory within psychology and social science, that we all can merge together to make it make sense. And again, there may be some thoughts or questions about my model. There's probably questions about where you can read about it more, and there will be links via the website. But in the comment section, if there are anything that you want me to talk about a little bit more about the concept of on-road youth work, let us know. And hopefully in the next video or one of the next seasons, we'll talk about this concept in a little bit more detail. So I just spoke to you about on-road youth work. One of the things I just wanted to quickly mention was one of the books that I mentioned. And one of the authors, friend and colleague, Dr. Martin Glynn, you heard me talk about his chapter on road criminology, and that comes out of his book, Black Men, Invisibility and Crime, towards a critical race theory of desistance. For those that don't know what desistance is, come on, you need to do your homework. But this is a really interesting book in understanding Dr. Glynn's methods of how he looked at working with particular individuals in a particular environment, understanding what criminality essentially is. Explains desistance, explains critical race theory. You've heard me mention that a few times on the series. But one of the chapters, I believe it's chapter 4, that talks about on-road criminology. And then I build on-road criminology, utilizing some of those theoretical underpinnings. And a book I've already mentioned in one of the previous videos, Building a Black Criminology, Race Matters. I use critical race theory and through that lens of intersectionality to help me make sense of the world of crime, deviant behaviors, and so on and so forth. So I don't have many youth work books with me, but this is kind of what I utilized in order to make it make sense to develop a contemporary concept of criminological theory.